Today's episode is sponsored by our good friends at Famous Faces and Funnies, located in Melbourne, Florida. Check out their Facebook Live auctions on great deals shipping nationwide, and Ian's Display Accessories, the best figure stands for iconic Star Wars and G.I. Joe action figures, shipping nationwide. And EGS Expert Grading Services, the only grading service to offer custom labels and introducing new slabs. Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Codename YouTube GIJoe 2. Hi, I'm your presenter, Shabu Are You. Well, this is going to be a bittersweet episode as we look at another IDW one-shot offering. And again, this in all likelihood will mark the last time we do an IDW one-shot. And we're looking at the best of SnakeEyes and Storm Shadow respectively. Now what's interesting is these aren't the usual suspects as you would think. There's no issue 121 because IDW has already gave us wonderful reprint offerings of those iconic issues. Now, here's the thing that I've been doing since 2015 and what I've noticed. IDW GIJoe Team is run by fellow fans. The level of fan service in that department is astonishing. And I've gone to talk to various members within that group, and for them to go above and beyond, continue to offer these is absolutely amazing. It's a credit to them. And they know because they're also in a lot of these G.I. Joe Facebook groups. I mean, they're incognito, but they're amongst us, listening, taking in, offering suggestions. Now, if you guys have been following me lately, unfortunately, the Hasbro GIJoe team hasn't been that receptive. I've been trying to get a hold of them and trying to ask them to incorporate more diversity, especially during the 40th anniversary. And I've been asking my fans and friends to send them a message to make sure that in the future they include this channel as well as incorporate more diversity. And this is back in June. I still have yet to heard from anybody. Just here's a email address, and I'll have an episode dedicated to this, unfortunately. But basically, I'll show you how they've just basically given me the old ostrich with the head in the sand tactic and not acknowledge me or answer any of my questions. Because I think that, you know, by incorporating diversity, you can appeal to new people and also make G.I. Joe grow and prosperous, and that's what we all want to see. But I digress. Let's get back into this. But these offerings, again, they've been doing this for the past like 2 years, and it started with the silent issue, doing issue number 21 and 21.5 that a lot of fans don't really know about, called the Complete Silent. And then they followed up with the yearbook reprints. It's just been a wonderful experience to be able to get these in these high quality gloss paperback. And these things, you could tell there's a lot of effort and love, top quality use. So even if you do have these issues in the Marvel run, it's worthwhile to get them again. And also for those Marvel only fans who, you know, don't want to jump into IDW, there's a couple issues of IDW in these, so you can actually get an idea of what's going on in the IDW run. So with that aside, let's take a closer look at these wonderful one-shot offerings. Oh, and like I do in every episode, what's playing in the background is actually the Sega Genesis version of the X-Men game. So a few days ago, I looked at the Marvel Legends Wolverine action figures. So if you haven't, take a look at that episode. But I figured like, hey, let's crank out and fire up the old Genesis and, you know, X-Men and stuff like that. And this is one of those games, like, it's not the famous arcade one. It was kind of a little bit of a letdown. But still, hey, and back then, that's all we had, and we loved it to death. So X-Men from Sega Genesis. Alrighty, so we're going to start with the best of SnakeEyes first. And for anybody, if this is their first time, how I do these IDW one-shots is I just do a flip through. There's no sense recapping like I do with the modern IDW GIJoe comics because they're reprints. So I just wanted to show off the paper quality, how everything looks, just so you guys get a better feel of this presentation, so you could make the decision in adding these to your collection, which I've been saying from the start is a must. And you know, I have about 2/3 of the Marvel run already graded, and I still buy these because they're that damn good. So anyway, let's flip and take a look. So as I mentioned in the intro, these are not the usual suspects. There is no issue number 1, 21, 26, and 27 because they've already been done. I think that's the number one thing to point out. And if you see right there, we're starting off with issue number 2. Now, what's interesting is that honestly, the success of issue number 1 caught both Marvel and Hasbro by a little off guard. Everyone was actually preparing for G.I. Joe issue number 1 to be a one and done type of deal. So when the success came in, they kind of scrambled to come out with issue number 2, which came out 2 months after issue number 1. Now, again, like it's just the other thing is like issue number 2 isn't really a SnakeEyes type of story, so he's not the central figure. So it's kind of interesting that they added this versus another issue. Like any one of those 3-part, the origin of SnakeEyes, probably would have been sufficient, but no, they decided to go a different route, which is good. You know, issue number 2 doesn't get that much love, even though it's the first appearance of Quinn. But again, like I've said on all of these, the paper quality is astonishing. And just the presentation, the look, the feel, the aesthetics of this package, and why I've been a big fan of the one-shots is it's once you get it in your hands, it's like a no-brainer. And again, just note that the IDW GIJoe team are trying to the very end and delivering fan service. And unfortunately, the Hasbro GIJoe team, we're going to see them during their upcoming live stream, isn't really receptive to any suggestions or recommendations. And like I said in the intro, I politely asked them to consider this channel and include more diversity, minorities. You know, like Miss Marvel saw a big boom just because of that character being different, you know, ethnically different. And I think any line where, you know, diversity is the hallmark or one of the core values, I think the corporation should also embody that in their official presentations or their acknowledgments. And just do a simple YouTube search for 40th anniversary, and you'll see, you know, predominantly all Caucasian people were issued that. All right, now here's the issue 12. Now, like I did with issue number 2, issue number 12 is also graded 3 strikes for SnakeEyes. Now, a lot of people say either the Cobra Civil War or this story arc is probably the best in the entire G.I. Joe lore. And this is the Dr. Venom story arc, obviously. So we're caught right, you know, right in it, and we see there's Scarface. He's another character that existed in the comics that never got a, I guess, 82 to 94 action figure. Of course, like, you know, there's been modern after that of Scarface, but, or just G.I. Joe, our Cobra officers or troopers with a red scarf. So again, a lot of like, it's kind of cool seeing. What's funny is like, look at Gung Ho. He's still in uniform when he's off duty. Like, it's like, okay, the man is hardcore. Wow. And again, Quinn, 2 issues, 2 Quinn things. So this is maybe the best of Quinn. Because right now 50% of the offerings has Quinn as one of the central figures. And boy, the other thing of what a dick Dr. Venom is, and what a selfish bastard. And it kind of gets amplified when you get into the IDW GIJoe like 260 or 263, where the ghost of Dr. Venom like takes over, and he was actually in Dr. Mindbender, and I guess he reawoken and kind of took over Dr. Mindbender. So it was just so fucked up, that whole storyline. But it was you would think it's dumb, but when you think about it, it was actually pretty cool. Just it was just kind of like one of those story arcs that was in the middle of two, like Dawn of the Arashikage, and then the 10-issue story arc that was Snake Hunt. So it fell right in between those really big, huge story arcs, and sometimes it got overlooked. But yeah, if you get a chance, reread like GIJoe 260 and just see what I'm talking about. But Dr. Venom is a nutcase. All right, now we're into more the death of SnakeEyes. Now, this is really special to me because when I was sitting at my desk at a government contract by Kennedy Space Center, and I saw the little blurb on Yahoo News that said, "Oh, famed GIJoe character SnakeEyes dies," and it was like, what? No way. And that's what kind of got me back into GIJoe. We see the robot being controlled by Serpentor, because yes, Serpentor comes back alive in this thing, and this kind of is relevant to what is going on currently at the end of GIJoe. Serpentor 3.0 coming, and so I'm not going to give anything away besides that, because I'm still at issue number 297 myself, so I'm a little bit behind playing catch up. But again, we see that, everything that issue number 155, a letter from SnakeEyes, that what he wrote to Sean Collins, comes to fruition in this issue. I think that's people say, this was not that big of a spectacle when it came out. And I understand that, but there's a deeper meaning. You read issue 155 and then go into the death of SnakeEyes. That's where the money shot is, right there. And you understand why SnakeEyes, the original SnakeEyes, did not hesitate for even a second when he had the chance to save everybody's life. And he kind of you could see, even though you can't see, you could see him smiling, as he, you see right here, he takes Serpentor down, and Scarlet is screaming, and it's just one of those things that totally embodies who SnakeEyes is. And I think that's what got lost with a lot of people, is they didn't see that. But I'm glad they included it in this offering. And again, I think Nito Diaz drew these. Well, let me see. I think Nito was there. No, SL Gallant. Well, yeah, that looked like our SL Gallant. I should have picked that up right away. But yeah, we see Scarlet dealing with the fact that the love of her life died. And then you go into issue number on the special missions for Scarlet. I think it's 252. That's just a heartbreaking issue, because you see Scarlet, there's Sean Collins taking on the mantle of SnakeEyes. So the last brother, as he is known, now has to take on the mantle of his teacher, his leader, SnakeEyes. A lot of people didn't like that, I understand, but at the same time, Larry used this to do other things and go in different directions, so you can't fault him on that. The Death of SnakeEyes Part 2, just more of the artwork, and here's 276. This is another Untold Tales. I was telling you about that. So there's I like how Larry Hama did this. You would get the main real American hero. These are kind of like special missions, so it'll be central focused on one character. But again, this is more of a Sean Collins, not the original SnakeEyes story arc. But again, it kind of shows you how his, it's not just a mission, it's the ideals that SnakeEyes throws himself into for the greater good of humanity. And I think this issue is one of those that kind of showcases that aspect of SnakeEyes as well. So again, these are not the usual suspects, but they're fun, especially for people that haven't been keeping up with the IDW run. They offer you just enough mixture of both the Marvel and IDW where you get, again, wow, this is Nito. This is Nito Diaz. You can tell by the artwork. And the one thing is cool is regulars in the channel know that Nito doesn't really speak very good English. So when he appeared on my channel, I kind of like I gave him the questions in English and he responded. So that's why we had to do a Q&A via like I read the question and then I read you the answer that he gave. But he's one of those artists that GIJoe fans should be lucky that we had him, because he's about to blow up. He's going to, I think he just got a call from DC. He's working on some DC and Marvel stuff. So even J. Scott Campbell with Danger Girl, his artwork and why he's such a big shot right now all started with GIJoe, So there's a lot of modern artists. Again, these are all I like how they do all the cover variants as well. And here's John Royal, another friend of the channel. His Baroness and his female drawings are, I think, issue 295. The RI cover with the Baroness. It's going for like $50. Alrighty, so that take care of the best of SnakeEyes. Look at that. Just beautiful presentation. And the cool thing is you could enjoy these. You don't have to worry about, wearing kid gloves and so on and so forth. This is made for you to enjoy. So it's a great way to put aside your valuable Marvel books, and, get them graded, and you could still read them and enjoy it. So this is a home run. All right, so we're going to do the best of Storm Shadows. And again, I enjoy the fact that these are not the usual suspects when it comes to Storm Shadow's keys. But unlike SnakeEyes, Storm Shadow does play a major part in these individual issues and in the story arc overall, where, we saw issue 2 and issue number 12, where, even though SnakeEyes was in there, he wasn't really that an integral part of the storyline. But in this case, Storm Shadow is. And right off the bat, kicking off issue number 38 with another one of many iconic Mike Zeck covers. And this actually plays out in the comics. So that's another thing. Oftentimes with GIJoe, we'll see an amazing cover, but we will not see that in any aspect in the actual issue. So I think that's kind of cool. Now, issue number 38 kicks off with Billy being he's not on trial. They want to know why he did what he did. And again, it just shows what a bastard and just a dick the Larry Hama Cobra Commander is versus the goofball Sunbow version of it. At no point does he I was a terrible father, that's why my son is going down a wrong path. He takes none of that responsibility for his son's actions. He's just like, all right, you're standing on trial for your actions. Now tell us who put this seed in your head, and we'll deal with both of you accordingly. No sense of being a father. And I think what's also interesting is that how we see the beginning of Storm Shadows taking Billy under his wing and eventually becoming a full-fledged Arashikage member. And I think that's another thing that is really interesting in this story arc. And we get a little bit of Cobra Commander's backstory and how Billy was on the side, watching his dad. It was like an afterthought. And I think that it's kind of sad when you see that. And Storm Shadow kind of sees what Billy had to overcome and sees the attributes that would make a fine addition to the Arashikage. But like, he's the type of guy, he's like, he sees a diamond in the rough, and that's how he takes Billy under his wing. And I think that's kind of a really cool when we look at issue number 38, is to keep those aspects in mind. And unfortunately, we know really early in the IDW run, Billy was killed by the Blue Ninjas, which is Revenge. So for one of the very few times we see G.I. Joe and Cobra, because Billy was beloved by all. And the Baroness helping Storm Shadow and SnakeEyes avenge Billy's death. I mean, again, those are another great story arc from IDW. And of course, Candy's introduction. We see Candy's van. And then with issue number 66, we're just kind of like now further along Billy's development into his training, I think. And the introduction of Jinx. So I think that's kind of cool. The other thing is when you flip through these, it's just, it just quickly transports you back in time. Like, that's why I love it. It doesn't matter a reprint or holding the original one. You instantaneously go back to a more simpler times. And I think that's with a little bit of touch of, with the better paper quality. So you're getting the best of both worlds. And that's why I've always been a big supporter of these one-shot offerings. And, here we have what was the Arashikage clan up until this point. And we see now how it has changed dramatically with only Storm Shadow and Scarlet being carried over. Now we have Dawn Marino, we have Sean Collins, we have Agent Helix, who's like an honorary member, of course Jinx, and it's just, you just see how the Arashikage clan has been forced to carry on post the death of SnakeEyes. And I think just seeing that contrast of what was and what is now is kind of like, it's just heartwarming to see. Wow. Ron Wagner is the artist in this one. Again, Ron is up there too. So many contributions. It's like Larry Hama's words and these artists' rendering. Stalker. Issue 160. Wow. Look at that cover. And that just says it right there. Alrighty, so this particular issue actually has a lot to do of where the Marvel run ended and actually where the IDW is about to end as well. Now, you have to remember at the end of the Marvel run that the Baroness, Storm Shadow, and Billy were brainwashed in the brainwave scanner and back on the side of Cobra when issue 155 came to an end. And here we have SnakeEyes being hooked up to the brainwave scanner. And this kind of lends into what's going on currently in G.I. Joe, how Dawn Marino got all of SnakeEyes' memories, how currently they're trying to hook up Sean Collins to the brainwave scanner to finish that part off and create Super Soldier SnakeEyes, Cobra only, to be G.I. Joe's biggest threat. And that's what's going on, as well as creating Serpentor 3.0. But again, just a wonderful continuation of the Marvel run. This was early in the IDW run, and they just did it so well. And again, when you read the Marvel and the IDW, you know, issue 1 to 300, or what we're on 298 right now. It does not let you down at all. It's the complete story is absolutely breathtaking when you think about it, that started in 1982 and the real American hero is going to end in, you know, 2022. That's freaking insane. And this is a very interesting issue in that it connects the past to what is, to both endings. That's where I think this issue is really important. It's connecting both endings of the Marvel and IDW run. So they probably knew that. Of course, because Diana Davis is one of the best. She's the head researcher for GIJoe IDW and the biggest Duke fan in the world. But yeah, good. This is a good pick for this. And see, GIJoe doesn't know that Storm Shadow has kind of overcome the brainwave scanner and is back on the side of good. So they're like treating him like an enemy, like the old Storm Shadow from the 80s. So I think that's kind of cool. I think this is Vincent Padilla. I think that's his name, but I like how he draws Scarlet too. SL Gallant, you know, was a mainstay. Nino Diaz did a few guest issues, but mostly it was SL Gallant. And here's the famous issue that we did an entire episode on, issue 286, where we get the backstory of Storm Shadow, Tommy Arashikage joining the famous long-range patrol unit of Stalker. Stalker was the last one to join. I didn't know that, you know. So these guys, Storm Shadow was the second to last to join because his unit, his LR, his long-range patrol was destroyed. So he had to join SnakeEyes, Wade Collins, and the other guys. And then after their leader died, then Stalker took over as the leader of the patrol unit. So that's kind of cool. And I love this issue because it really shows you the Sword Brother bond, that how SnakeEyes had a tough time connecting with people. And this was before his ninja training and everything else. So even before all the bad shit started to happen to SnakeEyes, he had trouble connecting with people. And Tommy just broke down those barriers for him. So again, this is a modern classic. I'm calling it right now. So definitely, I got this book graded, and I'm really happy to do so. I'm not too happy with the grading. I'm gonna have to talk to Tony at EGS about that. But again, we see the tattoo for the first time. Well, if you think about when this would be the first time the Arashikage tattoo was shown in the real world GIJoe timeline. Oh, anyway, that does it for about, oh yeah, we see SnakeEyes, a ladies' man, even back then, hitting on one of the nurses. I think that does it for this. I think, again, pick these up, guys. I think this a wonderful addition to collection. I don't know how the new publisher is going to handle this franchise. Everything is still up in the air, but while you still can, you know, it's a perfect blend of what we love and remember and today. So I think these are winners, and you'll feel the paper quality, the cover quality. These are built to be enjoyed. So by all means, pick it up. Anyway, this is Shabu RU. Thank you so much for watching. And again, stay tuned. We should be doing issue number 296 in a few days. Alrighty? Have a good one.